ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Bone Apple Tea. Doing this intro directly in front of our guest today. Very awkward. Michael Quick. He's staring right at me. So Michael Quick, and I have to say his full name every time I say it.
That's right. It's the only way to say it.
The person he is, the Quickster, as some like to call him.
Oh, no, we're not making that a thing.
We're making that thing. He is a guy, actually, just a guy, regular ass guy. No, he's one of our friends. Also works at Red Hat. So Red Hat is a like Linux distribution designed at enterprise systems. So they do kind of like targeted solutions for enterprise systems, backend, that type of thing.
And he works specifically with NASA.
Yeah, exactly. So he deals with NASA. So he's got a lot of cool experiences and exposure, and he's, kind of a wild story as to how he even got involved, and was one of those weird cases where he kind of just knew what he wanted to do for a very long time.
Yeah, that's actually very unique.
I know plenty of people who don't know what they want to do, and they're working jobs right now, and are full-blown adults. You know what I mean? So it is kind of a tough thing to figure out. But anyways, we have a lot of good talks about, what is Red Hat, basically. Kind of what it's like, or what his job is like, working with NASA. And then we kind of go all over the place about random conspiracy theories, and then also people stuck in space, a lot of good space talk, flat Earth, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, very pertinent conversations, because we're actually getting the chance to sit with someone who works directly with NASA, who's seen the mock-up of the ISS, It's really cool stuff. So,
yeah. Well, I guess that's pretty much it, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's all sorts of combos in there. But today's episode, besides our usual Magic Mind sponsor, which you'll hear about in the center of the episode, we made Michael try a little bit of that earlier. We also are sponsored by Sassy Balls. So I'm going to show you right here. This is Sassy Balls. It's pretty much like a protein energy ball company. This one is 207 calories with 15 grams of protein a ball. If you want to go ahead and take yours. They are delicious. I truly believe that this one in particular tastes just like that, what do you call it? Like those little white chocolate Reese's. I don't know, you tell me.
Yeah, it's bomb.
It's pretty insane, right? Wow. Isn't that like, it's way better than, you're like, oh, like a little protein ball, probably tastes like shit. No, most of them taste like shit. But these ones, like you can actually taste the difference. Like you go to a store, they're dry, they're flaky. These have like a good consistency to them. Like I said, 207 calories, 17 grams of fat, 8 carbs, 4 grams of fiber, 10 sugars. Those are all not added sugars, by the way. That's just sugars from what's in here. Protein is 15 grams. Overall, pretty insane. I was looking at some other balls, I was looking at tons of balls. And those ones were like you had to eat 4. You had to choke down 4 balls just to get the ingredients of a single ball of these. I love the laughter. This is great. And so
the macros are, dude. I mean,
the macros are great.
I'm a big texture guy. I feel like a lot of the other ones have been really like flaky and
very
dry. Like this is not dry at all.
No, it's great. And like I think the other mistake that some other companies make is they'll try to advertise it like it's a super high protein product. And I'm like, okay, but for 200 and something calories, you're only getting 6 grams of protein. That's not a high protein product.
Protein is not the highest per gram macro in the thing. It's not a protein snack.
Yeah, and like even with the Sassy Ball, I could see someone like what's his name, TNF, like argue like, oh, just eat like a Quest bar. But the thing is that like this is more so to curb that like, oh, I want to have a Reese's cup, but instead I'm gonna have the this is called the peanut butter whiteout, which has better nutrients than a Reese's peanut butter cup, but has a similar taste.
But I mean, very strong peanut butter taste. And like I love.
Yeah.
But like, Quest bars taste like absolute dog shit. You only eat them for the macros. So like, this is like, it's not supposed to. From what I understand, you're not supposed to replace a protein bar. It's supposed to be like an energy snack.
Yeah, like a nice, like I personally like to have it as like a pre-workout. I'll have my protein shake, and then I'll have one of these, and it takes that protein shake from 25 grams of protein and boosts it all the way to 35 and beyond, 40 grams of protein sometimes. So great product, lots of flavors. Go check it out. And without further ado, I think let's get the episode started. Michael Quick, probably the one and only person I call by their first and last name.
You have to.
I got all the time.
You literally can't, like, he was like, oh no, the camera's cutting off Michael Quick's head. Like,
actually.
Like, for no reason. For no reason.
Michael Quick's coming over. Oh, Michael Quick? I don't know. Is that pretty common just in your...
Yeah, everybody I know.
Really?
Yeah, work, professionally. Well, that's the same thing.
Work.
Personally, with friends, acquaintances, everyone.
Dude, I mean, it sounds like a made up, like, Marvel superhero comic book name. Like, Michael Quick sounds like, it's just like fucking Michael Morbius or like Doctor Strange.
Michael Morbius.
There's no way like a real doctor named Doctor Strange becomes a wizard. You know what I mean? Michael Quick is a fake name.
It's funny though. Everybody who makes a joke about Quick, they look at me as if they're the first time. It's the first time I've ever heard it. I got pulled over this morning in Sprague, and the trooper pulls me over. I came around the corner. I knew I was getting pulled over. So I just pulled over right away. And he comes up behind me and he goes, school zone, you know? I said, school's not in session. And he said, okay, where's your license? So I gave it to him and he went to his car and he came back. And I knew he was going to because he had a smug look on his face. He was like, maybe next time you won't be so quick.
That's a good one.
I'll try my best.
For a while, I was messing with people, and I'd be like, "It's the first time I've ever heard that."
They'd be like, "What?"
Yeah. Some took it well, some didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be like, "Oh, this guy's just fucking with me."
Yeah, that's like it. Well, I feel like that's when you realize how
at least give me like a sympathy laugh.
That's what I do now. That's how we started this.
That's a good point. Yeah, dude, that's hilarious. Well, it is funny because I think you're like I said, the only person who I call by first and last name.
Well, don't forget Mandy Moore.
Mandy Moore.
She's an actress.
I forgot her.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah, I already forgot her.
No, I know who she is.
I'm the only one.
The only person.
I actually don't know if I've ever said her first and last name.
Well, it's almost like...
but I've never said it out loud.
Yeah.
It's almost like Harry Potter. You know, Potter.
Yeah.
Except they just say last names, I guess.
Say Potter.
So it's even more unique than Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Because it's Michael Quick. But so
Boy
that's...
who clicked.
You've been quicked.
Briefly in 7th and 8th grade, you, Johnny, and other people used to call me Quickster sometimes. I'm glad that one had a short lifespan.
Wow, I'm glad that had a short lifespan. That's embarrassing.
I wanted that to stop.
Isn't the Quickster like what they call SpongeBob in that superhero episode?
Is that what
I don't know. I thought so.
Well, that's kind of a Quickster. The Quickster. Yeah, I think I'm glad that stopped too. I think it is interesting because, you're very much like an outgoing person and stuff now, and well spoken. And I think like back in those times, I probably wouldn't have expected that from you. You know, when did you like have the switch around in the personality? Because
you used to be a weirdo, I heard.
You used to be fucking weird, dude. Anyways, welcome to the podcast.
When did you decide to get a life, dude?
So there's a longer story to that, truthfully, that we'll get to in sometime in the next 8 hours here. But no, honestly, I think what finally pushed me out, especially towards like orating, is
especially towards orating. Nice. It's a good word.
Speaking.
There you go.
Is when I ran for office. That having to knock on.
Wait, what do you mean?
All right.
Like
he forgot that you had to be 35 and it was a whole thing.
This is where I announced.
For president?
President Quick.
President Michael Quick.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you. See, you know.
But yeah, no, having to knock on 1,200 doors, 600 2 times was terrible. You learn to quickly get the words out that matter. You open the door, you get 3 words out, slams in your face. You iterate quickly.
Right. And you just build up the confidence. I remember that, dude. I remember because I actually...
Your mom voted for me.
I voted for you too. I drove... little camera look. I drove all the way back, not all the way back, like as if it's far, but from Yukon to Hampton just to make that vote.
Mounted a horse and made the journey.
Yeah. just to vote for you because... And I remember like coming into the town hall because all the like older people knew who I was going to vote for just because I walked in and I was a younger guy. And like someone even said, like, I know who you're voting for. I was like, Jesus, dude. Like,
I can spit on you.
It's like
okay. Dude, it's like what? Like fucking.
Well, first of all, this guy actually cares about the school here. So like, I don't know. Maybe that's important to like education for the kids around town. All the freaking oldies in that town want to shut down all the schools.
Yeah.
So they don't have to pay taxes.
What do you mean?
They want to close the schools so they don't have to pay taxes on the school.
What do they expect all the children to do?
They don't care about the children, dude. That's the
Adam has solved this problem in less than 15 seconds.
Yes, dude, exactly. Like that's
whatever, dude. Wait like 10 years, all of them will be gone anyways.
Yeah,
you can run for office again.
Yeah, I guess so.
I always say when I'm retired, kind of for that reason.
Yeah.
Dude, you gotta run for office.
Yeah.
Run faster than anybody else.
Oh, God.
So wait, so what was the position though? Are you just running for mayor of fucking Hampton?
Yeah,
they have a mayor? I actually don't know the distinction.
Usually I just describe it as mayor because that is the closest equivalent. It's called first selectman. It's just...
Oh, it's a selectman, yeah.
Most people from New England don't, though. I travel for work and tell the story, and they're like, what's a selectman?
Oh, yeah. That's interesting.
I mean, like, I know the position. My uncle was a selectman, actually, for his town. But it's like a town thing. Like, mayor is like a city thing, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's the distinction. Cities have town councils, and then a mayor, and then... New England has selectman town government, or it's selectman town meeting style of government.
Okay.
I know more about that than I ever wanted to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you had to because you were trying to do... What actually motivated you to get to that or do that in general?
Delusions of grandeur.
Okay.
Yes.
I saw problems that needed to be solved, and I fall into that trap a lot. I see a problem that needs to be solved, and I just go all in to try to solve it. It's annoying most of the time.
I mean, how old were you when you ran?
I turned 20 the day that I announced.
Dude, okay. If you tried to do the same thing now, I'm sure it'd be way more well received.
Oh yeah.
Just because of that.
Just because of age, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like...
And experience, like, I get it.
You know the thing that I heard most often, though? People used to tell me all the time, they'd be like, you'd be the first for selectman without a truck. Like,
shit,
dude, that is
right.
Okay.
That matters. That definitely matters.
That is such a small town comment to make. You'd be the first selectman without a truck, dude. Oh my God, that's insane.
I just would say just run in a different town. Like if somebody told me that and I was like, everybody here has a truck, like I'm in the wrong town. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like we both got out.
yeah, we did. Thankfully, man. I liked it, a little bit growing up. And I think that Parish Hill definitely helped foster a good education. I know people have complained about that, but I'm really a firm believer that educational comes down to the individual a lot of times, your own effort and the what you want to put into it. So I thought Parish Hill was perfectly fine for that. And it proved itself by the time I got to UConn. Was I the valedictorian of my UConn massive class? No, but I was still able to keep up with the Joneses. But I will.
This is the Jones over here.
Yeah, this is the Jones over here. Barely though. And I've told this story a bunch on the pod, but this guy here was one of those people where he would just not come to class, or you'd come to some of them, or he'd show up and maybe not pay attention, and then fall asleep, and then he'd be like, I don't even know why I show up, and then he wouldn't show up. I'd show up to every class and all of the, what were they called? The after hours. And they also had the office hours. And they did the review sessions before the tests. And Adam would just read the book, I guess, and just show up on test day and still test better than me, or at least on par to where I was at. And I was always I don't know how the fuck he does that. Because
just reading books.
Yeah, dude. I was just I can read, but that level of I don't know.
I've never seen it. I've never seen it happen.
And I don't read now.
Get a book.
Hold up.
I didn't show up to any class. I just read textbooks, and then I would go to the labs, and I would do the whole lab. I would have a lab partner. I'd be like, "Listen, we're gonna get out of here. I'm gonna do this whole lab." So I would do the whole lab, and then I would leave. And I was a TA for a couple of them.
Yeah.
Dude, I used to play COD with my lab advisor, the guy in my Chem 2 lab.
Oh, that's funny.
I finished the labs early, and then I would just shoot the shit with him, and then he just gave me his Xbox or whatever PlayStation handle, and we'd play COD.
Oh, Randy was being a fucking nerd.
Yeah, I was. I was struggling to keep up. I'm
dude, I didn't go to office hours, dude. I wouldn't even go to class. Office hours. But I just read textbooks, and
there were certain classes I didn't have to do that with, but for whatever reason, I really could not understand. Chemistry was a tough one for me for some reason. I almost wonder if I was trying to juggle and do too many things at once at the time. But chemistry was tough for me, and I know that you really excelled in that one in particular. But
that was just like one of my favorite subjects. So I feel like that's why. Like,
I liked the principles of chemistry, like the labs that we did when we made. What was it? We made like something that you can Advil.
Oh yeah,
we made Advil in our chemistry class, and it was like, there's obviously when you get Advil at a store, it's like almost 100% pure. But when you do it in a lab, like with our hands and mixing and stuff, it only ends up being like 60% pure. But you could still consume it and treat a headache.
But you could,
you could theoretically. But like that was the cool part. It's like, oh, this is actually kind of practical and cool to like see all this happen and all of it come together.
Intro to Breaking Bad.
Yeah, intro to Breaking Bad, exactly.
It was more so like one, obviously, like I read all the textbooks, but like I would sift through them and I kind of had a good idea of like what. Like I was pretty good at judging what would be important. So like I knew what to focus on. I don't know why. Just kind of like judgment, like just like, thanks, bro. But yeah, like anyway. So then I would spend time on the things that I thought would be relevant. Like I'd be like, all right, well, if I was going to make a test, like I'd probably put this on it because it sounds important.
On that note, though, I think it goes back to you get out of it what you put into it, and you're putting things in different directions, but you still got measurable outcomes.
Yeah,
but I think to go back to what you were saying before, I think a lot of people trying to dunk on the school that we came from is like, middle of nowhere, kind of shitty school.
Yeah,
I think it's metered based on what they got out of it, but then they leave out the first part of the equation of what they put into it.
Yes, dude. Yeah, I mean that's the whole thing. Is like there was plenty of really great teachers there. There really were. It was just all about like, if you show up being like a negative person, like, this place sucks and I fucking hate it. Then like, it's not going to be great, you know?
Well, there's a lot of like generational hatred towards that place for no reason.
Dude, it felt like every year it was like time to close it up.
Yeah.
It's like every year.
On. Yeah. Every 3 years they do the study, and then the year 2, they're like trying to like make the changes. Year 3, they vote on it. And then by the time they finally finish the vote, they're like, I don't think that we looked at under every possible rock here. Let's do it again.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. It's like, I'm pretty sure because, I mean, we were there for 6 years, right? Yeah. Because you have middle and high school, which is something that people are like, what? And that it is also funny that, I mean, I don't know if the student body has increased since I was there. No. Okay, so when I was there, the whole 7 through 12 was less than 300 students.
Yeah, dude, my graduating class, just my class in high school, was like 300 students. I think it was
Where'd you go?
280. I was in Massachusetts, so it was like Central Mass, yeah.
We don't have that in Eastern Connecticut.
Yeah.
No, maybe NFA.
Yeah, NFA would probably, or like anything around Hartford, like East Hartford, a really big school and stuff. But yeah.
Even still, dude, like, I mean, when you're a kid growing up, like that's like the only thing you know. Like I feel like you're just like, oh, this is great. Everything's awesome, because you're a kid and you don't have to deal with bullshit yet. And also like you haven't experienced anything. But now looking back, I'm like, oh, here's a bunch of annoying things in my town that I wish could change. Or like, oh, this was annoying about my high school. So from that perspective, like I'm immediately, the second I settle in a town somewhere, like I'm going to be involved in the government. Because like, first of all, I don't trust most people.
You mayor of Westerly?
Like, dude, I might be someday. I sort of look Italian, dude. So they might let me in.
They just don't let them find out that you're Muslim though.
Yeah. That might be horrible.
They'd be like some white guy from Westerly is like, what?
Yeah.
One of them Muslims.
You just ruined his election chances.
Dude, you just said it on a podcast. Now they're going to find out. They all listen to Bone Apple Tea. Everybody in Westerly does.
But so you go to college for...
Yeah, information systems, which is just vague and boring.
Right.
But
how does that... And then like, I want to know your path that gets you on to where you're at now, which is in Red Hat.
Well, so it's interesting, and all roads lead to Parish Hill.
Yeah.
I was in a middle school career fair at Parish Hill in Miss Abby's room. Shout out Miss Abby.
Nice.
Career fairs in middle school?
Well, it was for the high school, but since it was all one school,
yeah, okay,
we had to have enough students to put on something. Yeah. But this guy came, and he was from UConn at the time, and then he was doing Lynx work, and then he came back the next year, worked at Red Hat. And he was a solutions architect and did all sorts of Linux stuff. And I was playing with that technology at the time. Asked him all sorts of questions. And then he was like, oh, keep Red Hat in mind. And then 14 years later, here I am.
Son of a bitch, he gotcha.
But it was actually very intentional the entire time. Like everything that I was trying to do over that time was trying to build experience to eventually do exactly what I'm doing now. And actually this fall, I'm working on a project with 3 local schools, Parish Hill being one of them, to put apps that kids build in space.
Oh, what?
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
I wanted to do that to kind of bring it full circle because a lot of it's going to be computer science and mathematics and physics and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And it'll be back in Miss Abby's room, so it's kind of closing the circle.
You didn't hear they're closing Parish Hill.
It's
like right
Votes
before
today.
That's actually pretty incredible.
They turned all the stones.
To what? To what length is the apps going to be? What?
Sorry, I thought you were about to just shut down and like completely forget. Anyway, sorry.
No, you get to what? Randy broke. No, like I guess to what length does that, or what does that translate to? I guess is my point. Is like, okay, there's apps in space, but like, what does that mean?
I'm putting Twitter in space.
Yeah, I'm just like,
it's on the moon.
Yeah. Oh, don't worry, little Timmy, it's going to space.
Get that a lot. Yeah. So we're still trying to flesh out some of the details. But basically,
we're not really sure to be honest, but it sounds great though, right? Like,
it sounds really altruistic.
We're all be in the same space.
Okay. Yeah. There we go. Yeah.
But no, so I wanted to make it as inclusive as possible because not every student who goes into computer science or mathematics, physics, whatever, or if their eventual goal is either like, well, I was going to say aerospace engineering, but you should probably come from a STEM background to go into aerospace engineering specifically.
Yeah.
But the other ones, like if you just want to work at NASA.
100%. Sorry.
If you just want to work at NASA, for example, like they need artists, they need writers, they need all sorts of other jobs.
It's like imagining like a painter, like aerospace. This is a little different.
Well,
a poet.
A poet, dude. Oh, yes, my favorite.
Keeps going back to that.
I actually majored in puppeteering at UConn.
Do you remember
what can I do here?
Who we knew who did major in puppeteering at UConn?
I forget.
Our 6th grade teacher.
No.
Makes a whole lot of sense.
No, Ms. Butterworth? What's her last
like the
name?
fucking syrup?
Yeah, Butterfield.
Okay, do I need to start the AC on again?
No, I smudged it laughing. Okay. Thinking about painters and poets building planes. Not that they can't.
Yeah, no. Hey, man, you can do anything you put your mind to. But I mean, I do, to put some credit towards artists, like you do need artists in science because there's a big need for like books to be illustrated.
Exactly.
Which is like a lot of times scientists are not good at drawing. They can like describe something to you and then, but like that's not very great, So that's where artists do come in handy.
Yeah. And there's like a big gap in the last mile of understanding a lot of these concepts. And I've noticed that in actually your book over there that you have, the Strength Training Anatomy.
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting how some of those, they show a certain exercise or certain like, what is it, kinesiology of how the body moves, whatever it is. But seeing it sometimes in a 3D space or from a different plane or at a different angle. Think about planes. But anyways.
Dude, we got the giggles on this fucking podcast. That's so funny.
Oh, man. But anyways, seeing it from a different angle. Can't.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying.
So anyways.
Yes. Yeah.
Illustrations help understanding is the bottom line of this. So there'll be 4 workloads that'll run in space. The first one will be literary and art focused. The second will be just kind of like an introductory. I'm watching you laugh.
I don't know.
I'm trying not to.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I am going to start out the AC.
Yeah, it's also hot as fuck in this room.
It got very hot here.
Just breathing in each other's exhales.
Don't mind all the fucking sticky hands on the AC.
Well, it is working.
I heard his thesis.
Yeah, it does. It works.
Yeah. Oh my God. Ooh, fresh air. I feel like part of it was just, I was like fucking on fire in this room. Woo! All right.
Let's run it from the top.
Yeah. All right, Michael Quick. Glad to have you on.
Mayor.
It's me, Mayor
Almost.
Quick.
Mayor Michael Quick.
Can't wait to hear the laugh.
Hampton,
the laugh
Connecticut.
track.
Yeah,
all 30 people that live here because there's no more school. And so
Randy and I left, and the population dropped by like 20%.
Yeah, dude. Like, I think it is pretty crazy that they're always trying to shut that school down, though.
Oh yeah, they won't give it up until like a core group of people either leave or otherwise stop voting somehow.
I guess I just don't get the logic of it. I get it only if you care about yourself.
There's this isn't a logic-based decision. This is not an outcomes-based decision. Yeah, this is a feud.
Yeah, I guess you're right,
dude. The problem is none of the kids at that school drive trucks.
That's the real issue.
None of those middle schoolers are driving trucks around town. That's the real problem. Don't tell me shit about they don't have licenses, okay? You don't have a fucking F-150.
You don't belong in this town.
Sorry. So space project.
Yeah, we're gonna restart.
Yeah.
All right.
You were just going over the apps.
Poets in space.
Yeah, we were talking about poets in space here.
Does yours only shoot in black and white on you? Are we in color and you're in black and white?
Yes.
Yeah,
it's a very sad world where Adam is. It's just a show focus.
So,
kids, apps in space, and you're definitely not lying to them. There's going to be a point
we'll actually be in space.
Okay.
I'll send you a picture afterwards of what it'll actually look like. I did a test run the other day with just like a selfie of me.
Really?
I put on the ISS.
What?
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Wait, so how does that even work? Like, do you have a contact like at the ISS? Are there? I
got an ISS guy.
There's a guy.
I got an ISS.
Also, so you sent them a photo of you, and they were like, "Who the fuck is this?" Like,
it was part of a larger research conference overall.
Some guy just texted me the photo to like our battle station console.
Send it up.
But yeah, these kids, the schools are very invested in this because they are excited about the opportunity to do these sorts of things.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, it's really cool. Like, if you could actually get something on the ISS as a student.
In space.
Yeah.
Right.
But anyways, the first one.
Especially, like, I mean, how young are you going? Like, is it like middle school into high school? Is that the age range? Or is it like college as well? Or like, where's
the 4 projects that will eventually get through to the end of this podcast. We're going to rapid fire them right now. The first one is literary and arts. So the kids can create essays, poems, whatever they want.
So literary and arts.
I can't make eye contact with you when I say poets.
Okay. I'm going to look over here.
The Boeing
I feel like
poets.
it's not going to make it better.
We're going to cut to you anyways when you're talking. So
I'm just going to
I feel like if I look out the window,
camera.
it might make it worse.
The first one will be non-STEM focused. It'll be focused on... Fuck.
I don't know what it is, dude. I don't know why it's so funny.
Switching it up. But anyways, the first one's going to be focused on poem and poem.
I don't know what to do. I don't know.
This has never happened.
I'm gonna should we cause you like physical pain?
Beat the shit out of me.
How do we get your mind off of this? So we just punch you in the face?
No, so there'll be 3 that are focused on computer science and physics and math. And after the art and other ones that we talked about, there will be like an introductory physics and coding one, which would be you have like a limited amount of fuel and you're traveling at a certain velocity and here's your weight and what sort of maneuvers will you have to make to get to Mars from the moon or something like that. Okay. Super simple. You figure out the physics first and then you turn it into just some sort of basic computer program to do that, probably in Python or some sort of data focused language. And then the third one is going to be a bit more complicated. With that one, what we're actually going to do is take different data sets of from the United States Geological Surveys and USDA, things like that, all public science data, and then have the students write different sorts of programs that are going to look for rivers and fields and other things on maps.
USDA, like beef? Okay.
The beef organization. They also do beef. They do beef and rocks.
Okay.
A little bit of corn too.
Okay. Beef and rocks. I didn't know. All right.
But beef, exactly. We're gonna
salt's a rock. You got salt on beef.
Salt on beef.
Find your salt mines, find your beef, put them together.
Launch them in a rocket.
So geographical data for what's the, I guess, you were about to get into what you guys were going to use it for, I think.
Yeah. So the schools in Eastern Connecticut are more agricultural focused than an inner city school would be, for example.
Yeah, I feel that makes sense. Just there's farms in Connecticut,
Yeah. Yeah. And they are obviously always in the market for where they can raise more cows for beef or corn to feed said cows or corn for humans, corn for ethanol, whatever it is. Yeah. The U.S. makes a lot of corn.
Yeah, but, we do. Yeah. It's like a major production.
Moon corn.
Yeah. We're sending corn to the moon. But basically,
Red Hat's sick.
A simple computer program. It's just going to export like a geotiff from what the satellites have taken, which is just like a multi-layered geographical image. So different layers, and then it's going to look for certain infrared signatures. So corn gives off a pretty irradiant signature during the day. So it's just going to look for that in the picture and then pinpoint where it is and drop some coordinates where the schools are. It's not meant to be incredibly challenging because we're making 9th through 12th graders do this. But then the last one is going to be kind of challenging overall. This one, I want to kind of push the limits of what they can do. And we're going to have them take small models of different types of AI. And then we're trying to decide exactly what we're going to do. Maybe take beef data or corn data and then take another step on top of that one, or possibly go through like official procedures and stuff and then generate if there's an event on the space station, someone types in, here's what happened now. Is there any historical context for this happening in the past?
Okay.
And then having outputs for that. I can't say too much on that one, but the other three.
So the geotiffs, would those be like, are you guys using sensors on the station, or are you guys because how are these apps interfacing with the station itself?
So there's two kind of facets to this. The first is that there are sensors on the station. Most of that comes from satellite data, but the station sometimes is an intermediary. It can take the data and the astronauts can do stuff with it. With this one specifically, they naturally don't want high school workloads intermingling with the production workloads running on there. So
that makes sense.
Those will be more focused on the like a separate area, that a sandbox where they can't destroy anything.
I didn't know if they had like specific like R&D sensors outside of NASA official use, like, hey, we're setting a space station up. Here's like a couple like fuck around things people can use, maybe pay to use. Like, honestly, it kind of
do, just not for kids.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we'll take the data from those and some other satellites and then package them before we send it up. Because the other thing too is there's only so much bandwidth that you have up there. So we're going to compress a lot of it down here, send it up, and then it'll run on the space station. And then for the other projects that are non-STEM focused, they'll cycle through a monitor and then show on a camera feed of what's going on up there.
So what's the latency like if you're sending stuff to and from the station?
It's interesting because it's not continuous all the time like it would be a typical broadband connection with an Ethernet cable. Those you can measure pretty low, but it's more so like chunking the data up in smaller parts, or if you do get a good pass, like sending it all at once. So
it depends. Like weather.
It's pretty slow.
Related.
Though.
Yeah, I mean, it's like effectively a satellite connection. You know, so they don't really have high speed data on satellites. It's like Starlink's actually pretty good, but
they're designed for that though. They have special types of antennas that the future space stations will likely have better stuff like that. But they also have a constellation, so they're able to load balance a lot of what happens. But because of that, their latency is slow.
Okay.
I feel like this is kind of a good time to bring up
like high reliability, but like low latency.
Yeah,
like their coverage is pretty fucking good.
Because what it has to do is split the packets between, like, if you go to Google.com while you're traveling down the road in like an RV or something like that, you're probably not going to hit the same satellite for every single packet that comes back to the van or whatever you're in. It's going to be split up. And because of that split up, you also need algorithms to bring that back together on the other end, and then also split it up possibly when it sends it back down.
Yeah. That's so interesting. I didn't realize that it like parallel path the data like that. It's pretty cool.
It's interesting because it's good and usable for the grand majority of use cases that are out there. You're not going to do like high frequency trading or or like e-gaming on one of these things. But, yeah.
So what? Like, okay, obviously you kind of had found Red Hat earlier on into like the middle school, high school time, and you persevered, went through college. Was Red Hat your first thing that you got?
Yeah.
And then, okay, before also too, at some point, for those that don't even know what Red Hat is, because you're talking about space stuff, but I think Red Hat does more than just space stuff, right?
We do everything.
Yeah. So
the world runs on it, but nobody knows about it.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. It's like they're kind of like I guess almost like what do they call it? IBM, like IBM stuff is like...
Yeah, IBM owns us.
Yeah, it's like very ubiquitous, but people kind of forget about it because we all use like Windows and MacBooks now instead of like IBM computers.
Yeah. And a lot of that, like both Red Hat, it's true of us as well, but with IBM, a lot of that moved towards all the backend. So like nobody's using Mac OS to run like a massive data center.
No.
It's all Linux.
Yeah, I was going to say, we use Linux even at work, like all the time. All of our systems are like Linux or Petalinux or something like that. Because it's just easy to use, to be honest, and the file management and everything like that. Like, it's very like lightweight. Like you would never put like Windows is slow as shit. You would never put that on a, something that's, it's not a computer, it's supposed to do a specific task. It just needs an operating system, so that we can program it.
Yeah, it has a function.
Yeah.
And you don't want to have to boot up a whole slew of other functions that you're not using. So
exploded Windows and all the other ones. But they have different tasks. Like Linux is purpose-built, like we talked about, but Windows is just general purpose. Like your grandma's got to be able to power it up and log in and get to Facebook and say racist stuff on it. So
yeah. I mean, I think Mac OS is technically a Linux distro, right?
Yeah, Unix.
So, yeah.
Potato.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So actually, what'd you start out in? And the only reason why I ask is because I'm sure there might be someone who's into computer science that might be listening to this that is like, oh, like Red Hat actually does sound like pretty cool.
Well,
so how do you get
first,
there?
like, could you define Red Hat?
Oh, yeah.
I know what it is, but I don't know if
we are the world's leader in open source software. That's the line. But it's actually true. So like 30 years ago, Red Hat started just based on one guy who built something called Red Hat Linux. It was distributed because Linux has always been good. Linux is really powerful. And if you're building embedded systems, then you can use pretty much any type of Linux if you're going to build a lifecycle around it yourselves. But when you aren't really in the business of building really localized embedded things, it makes sense to go with something that has a lifecycle, security, predictable things around it. So if you're a company building something and you want to put Linux inside of it, then or like stock markets run on Linux, healthcare systems run on Linux. Like these things, you don't want to have to just do a patch every 3 weeks or every other week. It gets random. So you want something with a 10-year life cycle, a 5-year life cycle, depending on the specific like tool you're using. But that's really the original purpose. So they made an enterprise around it. They made enterprise Linux. So now 20 years later, we do like containerization, automation, things like that.
So it's still like, it's like a, I guess like highly vetted distribution of Linux that you guys just target at enterprise specifically for, whatever. And then you have people manage it. So if you were to say like get somebody on board with Red Hat, you have somebody, like you said, patching and also like managing the back end for them so they don't have to think about it.
Yeah. But the byline is that it's hard.
Yeah.
It is a really challenging tool to use at times because since you can make it so lean and like stripped down to exactly what you want it to be. And like, so if your boot is only a second or less, or if you have to make like real-time decisions and 30 microseconds or something like that, where you can do that, but you're not going to open control panel and click make 30 microseconds. You're going to, it's a lot of manual entry and configuration, and there's tools to help make that easier. But a lot of it is just knowing what you're doing and knowing what the outcome needs to be.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
just typing a bunch of sudo commands, dude. That's all exactly. You gotta do.
Just keep yourself as root.
That's so funny. So where were you before?
Yeah, Chaplin Farms, selling apples.
Really?
Yeah.
That was
number one.
That was the first. That's so funny. I feel like we all, me, you, Johnny, Khalil.
Yep.
They all kind of worked through Chaplin Farms before they shut down, I guess.
But the first
probably because of Johnny. Like, where the fuck's all our money going?
For legal reasons, that's a joke. But yeah, no, Chaplin Farms, that was hilarious. That was also just an interesting experience, just sitting in a field for like 12 hours, just doing nothing. Yeah. There was a day I ate like 45 apples, try all the different varieties.
Doctors are afraid of him.
I'm still running off that high.
Yeah. I haven't been to a doctor in ages.
I just front loaded all my apples.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, prostate exam.
Well, it's funny too, because I was, 15 or something like that. People would walk up and be like, these apples are like kind of brown. I'm just going to take them. I'd be like, no, you're not supposed to. And they'd be like, see you later.
Like, okay, I guess. What am I going to do about it?
Yeah.
That's funny.
But first real job was doing K-12 IT, which I loved. It was kind of informal at Parish Hill while I was a student, but then left there.
You were like the guy to go to. Like if anyone had a computer problem, it was like, oh, like run it through Michael quick. It was like you, Josh Jones, another name I won't speak because of problems with that person going to jail and everything. But,
What?
Yeah, that's...
All right, we talk about this off air.
Yeah, it's fine.
That's for the blooper reel.
Yeah. But...
Cut that.
Yeah, cut that. But no, but both of you guys were always really good, like IT-wise. So it made total sense to me that eventually you would get into something that it was like a more grandiose version of that.
Yeah, I remember one time he was in 9th grade, I was in 7th grade, and we were trying to mess around with Linux on his mom's computer, like her work computer. And we were like, we know what we're doing. Deleted everything, lost everything. Computer wouldn't even boot.
Oh no.
Yeah.
We know what we're doing.
We spent like 2 days trying to fix it. And then finally we got it like half working. And then he was like, I don't know what's wrong with it.
Don't worry, Mom. We deleted all your shit. I noticed you had a lot of important things on there. So we went ahead and got rid of those.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's insane. I don't know what I would do if my kid was like, yeah, listen, me and my buddy just like bricked your work computer.
yeah, I know, right? Oh my
crazy.
God. So then you started working at, like, again, like how do you go from that? Like, did you go Indeed? Like, how do you jump from that to Red Hat?
You said Indeed?
Yeah, like Indeed.com, they have like job postings or something.
So it was very strategic trying to, because again, even then I was like, yeah, I'm getting a Red Hat one way or another.
Now until it was still in the back of your mind.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Dude, so
every step of the way.
Interview, they literally, you could be like, I've been waiting for this job my whole life.
Pretty much. I interviewed.
It wouldn't be bullshit.
They asked me, they were like, oh, you got to give a company presentation. So I delivered like the history of Red Hat and history of our products. And they were like, that was great. Like, yeah, I practiced.
Wow.
But so I specifically chose K-12 schools. Like a lot of the advisors and stuff at Eastern were like really trying to push towards insurance companies. They're like, we know a lot of insurance companies. There's a lot of them in Connecticut.
Yeah, there is.
You can get good jobs and
Hartford.
You can, and there's nothing against insurance companies, but that's not a very motivating mission for what I'm trying to do. Right. So I was intentional about trying to find something that had scale, something that had a lot of systems and also not a lot of great like rules in the environment to break things, learn lessons along the way.
Right.
So I picked K-12 schools because they have the budget to do large scale enterprise computing. They usually don't have a ton of IT staff and they have thousands and thousands of users. So it was a good way to learn a lot of these things that you have to do at scale in an enterprise. And that was intentional to eventually get to Red Hat.
Wow, that's very smart. That's like a really well executed plan. Like just thinking about it, because it's like,
you said Indeed as well. It's funny that you mentioned that because even that was just a trick that I learned from teachers. Is there's a website that's like meant for Connecticut school districts, and you can find like school district specific jobs on there, and there's a category for tech. So I just always kept looking at it. And
interesting.
I went from Parish Hill, where we were, which is one of the smallest, if not the smallest
public school in the state of Connecticut.
One of the lowest funded as well. So we grew up in a very crafty environment, to put a optimistic spin on it. And then I went to like a mid-sized school district that had like, I don't know, 5 times as many, no, probably 10 times as many students that was in there.
Yeah.
So more to do. But then after that, I went to Connecticut's second or third largest district and one of the most funded districts. So that was a huge change, just watching like opportunities that those kids had or like funding. Like Parish Hill would shoot down a budget because it's like $100 too high. But they'd be like, you only raised it $2 million?
Oh, yeah. Were you in Greenwich, dude?
Yeah. No, Glastonbury.
Oh, where Harvey's from, Glastonbury. Yes. Horses on the farm.
Yeah, they got a lot out there.
Yeah.
Glastonbury's nice too. What do you, so like now, like at Red Hat now, so do you get assigned to like a group of, because everything is like specific, right? So I'm sure they have like the same guy working with a thing through the life cycle or something like that, just because you'd be familiar with it, especially if it's like, some hyper customized version of the distro. You're not going to have anybody jump in. I would assume they have guys that are there for the full life cycle of the
Yes and no. The yes of that is we have thousands and thousands of engineers who kind of care and feed of the life cycle itself. So they work with the communities, and that's the big difference with open source is everything we do is released. So that's a big change from proprietary companies where your solutions are baked in a vacuum. Your problems are solved in a vacuum.
Yeah.
So part of being open source is they work in the community and release the free versions of everything completely first that are a little bit more buggy. They're not completely worked out yet. But then different engineering teams do that life cycle. And then what I do is work with the engineering teams to actually do the other side of that, which is the people who are using the software, whether it's like federal customers or big commercial companies or banks or defense or really anything, they have much different needs. So that customization happens there. So the life cycle is pretty standardized, so it allows for a change either in engineering or architecture. But yeah, there are specific solution architects for specific entities. Like I work with NASA. That's the only organization that I work with. But they're
pretty sick.
I love it.
Yeah, that's
awesome. So we're looking at beef from space.
So, so you exclusively work with NASA, and then you're the solutions architect. So you're like, are you? They're coming to you. Well, it's probably a little bit of both, but like at least people that I know that do a similar position, they'll basically take the software and be like, hey, look at all the cool shit you can do. Which maybe that's more on the sales side. Like my buddy, I don't know if it's a similar job title, but basically he shows them what the software can do by creating some sort of like app or something with it. He works for Apache.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But like, so is it similar in that way? Or like, are you pitching them shit like, hey, by the way, you guys could be doing this with our, with Red Hat, or they can't come to you with specific needs?
It depends. There's different types of solution architects, and it's different at a lot of different companies as well. Like some use them strictly as salespeople. Some use them as like, hey, check out this cool new tool. And and you just keep doing that over and over and over, and you do a lot of the same stuff over and over and over. And then Red Hat's a little bit more engineering focused, where there's 80% of the problem that's solved with the software itself, but maybe there's changes that needs to happen to it. Or for NASA specifically, like there's very unique, specific use cases that they have to derive from this. So usually we're working with them to actually build out those solutions. And then there are sales teams who are like, well, here's a proprietary number that we're going to put on top of that.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool. So do you have to travel a lot or?
A lot. Yeah. Well, and it's dependent on what part of any organization that you're in. Like there's some that don't have to travel at all. There's some that travel all the time. I kind of get to choose when I travel, but usually it's like 2 weeks a month for just like 2 or 3 days in that week.
That's kind of cool though.
Yeah. I love it. It's been interesting and rewarding and telling to see nooks and crannies of every part of this country.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that's a big advantage of being able to travel is just to like, because I know there's way too many people that haven't seen anything.
Yes,
and then it's like, and like their perception of what the United States is just the 20-mile radius that they go to.
And they're usually so concrete in that belief too.
Yes, like they really know.
Like Parish Hill, you know what I mean? Like you literally, it's kind of funny that, you were like at Parish Hill with like 30 kids and then it's like you're like traveling all over the place now.
Yeah, it's two very different ends of the spectrum.
Also, different ends of the spectrum. Not a good segue.
Totally normal transition.
Totally normal transition. Hey, look at that. Oh, geez. Look at that.
Oh,
boom.
Nice. Okay, cool.
Boom.
A little tired anyways.
Yeah, that's great.
Mental elixir.
Yeah, so
totally sweet.
It is. It's pretty good, but it's a Magic Mind, little elixir. Definitely give it a good shake before you drink it.
We're doing you a solid right now.
Yeah, pretty much help a little mental boost. You got things like lion's mane, reishi.
It's funny. I've been doing actually a lot more of these recently. Not Magic Mind specifically yet, but usually like 1 or 2 in the morning.
Yeah, no, they're great. It pairs really well with coffee. I think that's like one thing that people get kind of confused is they think they have to take it alone, but it actually pairs really well with coffee, mainly because it has L-theanine in it.
Really?
Which is, so I don't know if you know what L-theanine is. Yeah, so pairs, for those that don't, L-theanine is just a substance that essentially, it sort of like takes the caffeine, which gives you the energy and sort of levels it out so that you have all the energy without the jitters.
Yeah.
So
it does people supplement theanine with caffeine in varying ratios, but like it does help calm you down. A lot of people like sometimes freak out when they have too much caffeine. But then also there's a bunch of adaptogens in there just kind of help you focus.
which is good for this podcast, which, maybe will help the giggle fest that we had earlier. Dude, I couldn't stop laughing.
We're smoothing out the giggles right now.
Yeah.
Dude, I drink a lot of those, and a lot of them taste terrible. But that was actually really good.
No, it's tasty. Right? It's got a good little taste to it. I think the matcha helps a little bit because I like matcha green tea too.
Like lemony. It's
good. Yeah, it's got like a little lemon in there. At least it's kind of what it tastes like anyway. Some sort of citrus of some kind.
It's magic.
It's magic, all right. Don't forget to go to magicmind.com/boneapplet20 and use code boneapplet20 at checkout for up to 20% off your first purchase or up to 48% off your first subscription. That's boneapplet20 at checkout. So anyway, back to the show here. I'm kind of curious though, because, and this is kind of a funny thing to bring up, but obviously you work literally with NASA.
Yeah.
And there's people out here that are believing that the earth is flat and that space is fake.
Yeah.
So it's like, my biggest question is, but there's so many thousands of people that are employed for the sole purpose of space exploration. What are they like? What would you be doing right now? Like,
scam, brother.
You know what I mean? Like,
they're just writing stories.
Yeah, right. Like I guess like on a date, like
writers, artists,
like all arts. Yeah, it's all arts and crafts.
Yeah, dude, that's why you were laughing so much earlier, wasn't it? It's all fake, isn't it? You're just an actor.
They don't even know.
But like, I guess it's like, it must be, is it frustrating or is it just kind of like background noise for you in terms of like when you hear and see people that just space is fake to them?
I've grown to be empathetic towards that point of view, honestly, not in a way that it deserves any sort of credibility. I mean, I feel empathetic for those people who believe that, which I guess is a little pessimistic, but I don't know. It's just so absurd to believe something like that.
Yeah.
Where it ends up just being background noise. But at first, I used to kind of juice me up. I'd be like, are you serious? And I would tell them the reasons why and be like, well, what about this? What about that? And they'd be like, yeah, what about the like Antarctic wall around the whole disc Earth? And I'm like, oh, all right. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, dude. This
but
isn't.
It's hilarious watching like flat Earth experiments that confirm that the Earth is
round.
Flat.
Yeah, dude, the laser one.
Oh shit! Lift your hands up in the air. Oh,
must be wrong.
Yeah. Well, we'll just have to run more experiments here and find out the truth.
That's my favorite. That was my favorite one where they point the light and they're so far away that the camera shouldn't see the light or should see the light if the Earth is flat. But it doesn't.
According to this math, if you raise your arms, you see the light. If the Earth is really round, and then he's like, "Oh wait, I can't really see the light."
Could you raise the light up? Oh, that's weird.
Can you see in the camera? You're like, "Oh, this doesn't prove anything."
Yeah, it's like I don't know, like to what. I don't get why that became so popular and to what. Like, I can understand certain conspiracy theories that maybe have some sort of societal. Government motivation for people to not know about it, right? Like the whole choose
your conspiracies wisely, Randy.
Yeah, I mean, like it's not even the conspiracy, but the Project Northwood. You know, where like the United States was during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, but was intending on essentially carrying out on its own terrorist attack on its own people to justify. Invading Cuba, is that right? I'm going to look up just to confirm that.
I have no idea.
But it's funny you mention that, though. I did see something recently where like they were going to stage something in Cuba as well, and they just completely fumbled the snap. It was so bad,
dude. Well, like, I mean, I honestly like never think about flat Earth because like it doesn't make me mad because I'm like, all right, this person's just an idiot. I immediately move on. But like all the other ones. There's like a motive or incentive for the person lying because like they're getting something out of it.
Yeah.
Like flat Earth is like, what are we doing? What's the like, why are they lying to you that the Earth is round? What's the benefit to the Earth being round? We know more about math and science and we can give you a fucking cell phone. I don't understand. Like there's nothing to gain from convincing you that the world is round. Like, like now we can sell them more globes. Like, what is the what's the
map companies are punching the air right now.
Yeah, dude. They're like, oh, they just wanted to get MapQuest out of business. Like, I don't understand. Like,
by the way, I was accurate with it. So this was in 1962. The proposals called for the CIA operatives to both stage and commit acts of terrorism against American military and civilian targets and blame them on Cuba government and use them to justify a war against Cuba.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So like this is where I can understand like, and that's a confirmed thing.
Yeah.
So like when people start talking about certain things like that are conspiracy theories, I'll listen. Maybe I won't believe it, but at least I can like level with that person and be like, yes. But when you start telling me space is fake and the Earth is flat, that's where I lose. I'm just like, I can't.
Well, dude,
like, I don't know.
It's actually just there's no outer space. It's just inner space.
Yeah,
it's all within you.
Have you heard of the concave Earth theory, where it's like the Earth is actually a ring and then the space is actually inside it? Yeah. My friend, one of my buddies, was like trying to convince me of it a while back, and I was like, dude, this is
like donut Earth.
No, it literally like, well, I guess donut Earth, but like basically like the sun
or like Cadbury egg.
Space is like space is like
Earth
the cream filling in the middle, and like actually the Earth is like a ring, and we're looking inwards when we look up.
But it's just too far,
kind of
so
like
Halo.
See.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
But there was actually some like weird, like some of the shit I was like, actually this like sorta has some sort of basis, but it's just not true, dude. It's not. It's not.
Yeah, I don't.
There's no like the Earth being round isn't something. All the other conspiracy theories are like the government made some shit up or lied, which is totally plausible because we've proven they've lied about shitloads of things.
Yeah.
And like, so like all of and just based on the past like 15, 20 years, like most conspiracy theories have legs to stand on and are very plausible. Flat Earth is not like, the government didn't make up that the Earth is round. That is like a national thing. There's no one like governing body that was like, the Earth is round and you will buy our product. Like that doesn't exist.
The product of Earth. It's a conspiracy about
You'll
the sun.
buy into it.
I always get like, okay, if you're looking, if you can go right now and buy a telescope and go look at Saturn and look at all the various planets with a telescope that you can buy at a store. Why are all those round, but Earth is flat?
There's just discs that...
They're just discs in the sky.
Actually, if you walk to Saturn, you'd notice that you could just walk right behind it.
Yeah, like push it over.
Almost like cardboard. Yeah, it's actually just like a piece of cardboard with a backing.
Oh my God.
We talked about this not too long ago, but I think the general populace has a very stringent understanding of physics. I think that's a big problem with a lot of these things.
Yeah. I had someone in my DMs be like, man, I was my top high school physics student and I know physics. I'm like,
that's some Reddit made up bullshit right there. I'm telling you that right now. If they're believing in flat Earth and that, you were the straight A in your high school physics, like, yeah, dude, sure.
Yeah, he's like, so was I.
Me too, actually. I was the number 1 of 8 in my whole school.
I studied every day, every hour, at every office hour.
Yeah.
Back in high school, I didn't have to try that hard.
Behind the dumpster. Doing crystal meth in the woods with old people that live in fucking Hampton.
The other thing is, I love this one too, is the moon landing.
Oh, yeah.
I hear that one a lot. Even at like NASA conferences, there'll be people walking around and you'll hear people murmuring like, when we went to the moon. But actually, Chris Holman, he told me one time a few years ago that I wish we could probably look it up and find it, but there's an actual like algorithm that's been made out that it's like math behind a certain event happening that is the nucleus of a conspiracy, and the number of people that would have to be involved before it eventually reaches critical mass and then escapes, or how many people would have to keep that secret. So they did with the moon landing, like if, I don't know, a certain number of 1,000 people were involved, I think it was like 17,000 or something like that, then it would have to be 800,000 people to keep that secret based on the number of people each person would likely tell.
Okay.
And so there's 800,000 people keeping the secret.
That the moon landing's fake? Yeah.
But it's funny too, like there's lunar orbiters that go around and look, and you can see the Apollo landing sites and the rovers.
Like that's just fucking ridiculous.
Well, dude,
I mean,
here's the thing.
argue though, because I think the conspiracy theory thing always comes down to like, it's more of like
it's
more of like a motive thing for me. I'm like, all right, it's like proving something in court. Like, all right, like, well, what is the incentive for the person to lie about this? And you could say for the moon landing, like, well, we just wanted to say, like, we beat Russia to space and like go fucking America and like let's put a bunch of money into our country.
Yeah.
Okay, you could make that argument, but also it's just like dumb. Like
because you can just look.
Yeah.
You can just look.
You can take a picture with your Samsung phone and see the footprints on the moon. And it's definitely not taken from Google Images.
Yeah.
What's funny with that is like, I think we talked about this before too, is the universe really did a number on us in terms of moon conspiracies, putting us in geosynchronous orbit with the moon. So we only see one side.
Definitely.
That was the universe being like,
best of luck figuring that one out.
Well, we landed on the other side actually, so it's you can't see it from here. But.
Well, the thing that I think gets people really confused with the moon landing one in particular, at least is a really good support for it was faked, is the problem was the press did for sure confirm faked a few things. So one of the things was they faked a moonwalk. So in the press, they took a test moonwalk, flipped the image, and like absolutely crushed the shadows. And so it looked like a guy who was initially just doing a test walk in a pool was actually in space. So a bad newspaper article used a false image to promote something. You know? So the problem is something like that really sours people's opinion of it because they just take that and start running with it. And they just assume like, oh, okay, they faked this one thing, that means the whole thing's fake. And it's like, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like, you can recognize that, okay, journalism hasn't ever really been that great, but science has been great. And I think it's sort of an insult to humans' capability that like, oh, how would we ever leave the Earth's atmosphere? It's like, we can, we figured it out. We figured out how to do it. How do we get submarines in the ocean? That's pretty crazy too. The whole thing is nuts.
Yeah, it sucks, it's like, actually.
Yeah, it's all my secrets. Spill your submarine secrets.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, and the thing with
first of all, make it out of steel. None of this carbon fiber crap. I don't know what those guys were thinking.
Ouch.
Yeah,
dude,
a cylinder.
Yeah,
dude, they were. The thing too is like when you put something underwater, like you can't see it. Like with you throw something in space, like you can see it and you can talk to it across the entire electromagnetic spectrum. You're not like limited to fucking sound. Like you got to sit there and use your dial-up connection to talk to the dude at the bottom of the ocean,
Yeah.
But like, so like it's kind of hard to observe in that sense, and we don't know shit about the underwater. But the nice thing about space is like we can send whatever the fuck we want to space. Yeah. It's very easy to communicate to space. You get the speed of light. You know what I mean? But like, yeah.
Well, I was just gonna ask, like, we can kind of move on from it, but it kind of seems like
space is cool.
Yeah. Well, it more so. Just like, it does seem like you've had to sort of deal with that kind of frustration, but I think you sort of have gone beyond it at this point because it's like, what are you going to do? Like you can't, actually, maybe I shouldn't tell that story. Like having to, someone who.
Oh yeah, not that one.
Got it. But we'll save that one. I'll tell Adam afterwards. That one's pretty funny. Yeah, I mean, I think it is cool what you're doing though, because I think that it's not a commonly talked about job. Like, I feel like most people don't even know that your job exists. So, like, on a day-to-day...
Doesn't. I'm just lying.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You're just an actor. He's just an actor. What is your, like, day-to-day like? Because you're saying you're traveling and stuff and you're, writing computer software or however it goes. But what does that really entail?
Every day is really different. And that is one of the reasons I love this job is I don't think I've done the same thing 2 days in a row for the last 3 years that I've been there now.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, it's cool. Some days I could be working with like CIOs and trying to talk about not just the technology, but like what are the teams capable of who are actually going to implement this thing.
CIO, just for people.
Oh, Chief Information Officer. Okay. Or like a Chief Technology Officer, things like that. So it's not just the tech, it's how do you actually do it? So that's part of it. And doing it is more than just the Reddit admins who are online, who are going to be like, oh, I know Linux and I've been using Linux for years.
Right.
And they have a lot of skills. But again, going back to lifecycle, security, all that kind of stuff, that needs a real plan. And you can't just download a file, plug that USB stick in and let it rip. Sure, it'll work, but it's not going to last, or some foreign adversary is going to take it out.
Nope, you're gonna lose all of Josh Jones' mom's files.
Exactly.
And you don't want that to
Yeah.
Not again.
Damn you, Michael, quick.
I'm still architecting a solution to that problem.
Yeah.
So do you have a government clearance then?
No, I don't need one.
You don't, okay.
And it's funny. I do have to talk. Yeah. Well, we have cleared architects, just a small pool of them, and they'll have those conversations. But a lot of this, you can talk about like the nuances of C programming language and what it's going to do and where without actually talking about what it's doing.
It's pretty arbitrary. It's not,
But it's funny though. We'll get to limits of conversations, and I'll be like, well, what are you trying to do that? Like, why? Or what's this function doing? Or what's that calling? And they'll be like, we can't tell you.
Oh, wow.
And then like we'll get to that point, and then it's just like, all right, cool. Sound like, let us know where you're at next time. Or like the example I brought up earlier is we can just bring in a cleared architect if they do need specific stuff.
Okay. Yeah. I was going to say is like, does that end up being a challenge when you're trying to work with NASA? It's like, if you're trying to design something, but you don't know the black box part of it. Is that like?
Not a ton, because the black box usually ends up being the program that runs itself. But the programming languages have standardized inputs and outputs. Yeah. So you present to that, and then what that black box is.
It's like their problem, to be honest. It's not you guys.
Like, I'm designing a car for them to haul something. But sure, maybe that thing that they're hauling, maybe it's like a fish tank and they need certain tubes and plugs, whatever inside. I don't know whatever's in that tank.
Yeah.
They're doing whatever they're doing on their own. I'm giving them a way to do it and bring it.
That makes sense.
Like you tell them like, hey, here's a tool, here's like a screwdriver. It turns right and left. But its ability to do that is on them.
It's funny sometimes though when they're like, oh, I turned it right, but the screw went left. Yeah. And it's like, why? And they're like,
can't tell you.
What's your best guess?
Yeah, what's your best guess?
Like even a lot of the other architects who work for some of the more secret stuff in the world who aren't cleared, they just get around it by doing that. Because like they don't actually have to know what's inside of it. But those who do work in environments that are talking about extra secret stuff, they have to get cleared.
Interesting.
Yeah, because like I mean, even where like we have to get clearance for our job, but I still like run into walls where they're like, oh, we can't talk about that or whatever. Like, because a lot of it's like need to know basis.
Oh, like SCI.
Yeah. You only get cleared for the things that you actually need to know for your job. You don't just have like I think there's like a misconception about having like a top secret security clearance or anything like that. Like you don't just have like a general overarching top secret.
You can't just like.
Are there aliens?
They don't.
Yeah, I know, right?
They don't just tell you like any piece of top secret information if you have a TS. It's completely on a need to know basis. Secret's a little more lenient, but like it's even still there was, and for me it was a point of contention because I was like, well, like how the fuck am I supposed to advance or have any sort of insight of the project as a whole if I don't know half of what's going on? But like if you're just. But I could still do my job. It was more so annoying for me because I wanted to like be more on the system level aspect. But as long as if you're given something and you know the inputs and outputs, like you can still do your design work.
Do you guys have to get secret or top secret?
Just secret.
Just secret.
And what was that probing process like? Like I
have into our lives. Like, what's that?
I have like a super boring background and nothing to hide. But that process always seems so. Because I've had opportunities to go for jobs that do need clearances, but I'm always like.
It's also expensive to get somebody to get clearance. Yeah, like your job would.
You guys don't have to pay. Oh, okay.
No. You don't have to pay for it, but like it is expensive for a company to put somebody in that. But yeah, dude, they just interviewed. I mean, they had to like they interviewed a bunch of my friends. Like probably like 3 of my friends. They met up with them in person.
Any like prior jobs, they'll call your boss, or if you went to school somewhere, I'm pretty sure they call they just call a lot people.
And then they interview you, like so. Like they went to a couple of coffee shops with a couple of my friends.
Yeah,
and then they went to. They want to make sure you don't have any debt. That's like a big thing. Like, is there anything somebody could use over your head? Like basically to get you to like do something. Like, oh, you owe us money or whatever. Like leverage on you, and then like my family's from Lebanon, so like I have relatives over there. So like they just asked me if I was a terrorist and pretty much
just plainly.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, you guys get a lot of people with that question? Like what do you
guys get a lot of
shit. I really was hoping you weren't gonna ask me that.
No.
Yeah.
No. I'm not. Yeah, no, but then they also were like, dude, this guy was like, cause like my grandma lives over there, and he was like, oh, like okay, so like somebody was holding a gun to your grandma's head and they were asking you for stuff about, information or whatever. I was like, what would you do? I was like, I don't know. That's a ridiculous question. Like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I can't even answer that. And he was like, all right. And they just like moved on. I was like,
okay, well, your grandma's dead now.
Yeah.
So hopefully,
bigger red flag if you sacrifice your grandma.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like
lose.
I feel like either way, that's like a really
I'm spilling the beans immediately.
yeah. Like,
I'm not letting my grandma die. She only got a couple years left. It's my last one.
Yeah, that's that is a crazy question. I don't even know that I got interviewed. I don't think they did all, because I'm white, so they were just
like a little profiling.
Yeah. Oh, for sure, for sure, he got profiled.
You're Italian.
Yeah, you just told me you're Italian.
The worst thing he's gonna do is like storm the Capitol or something.
Yeah.
But like me, I might make a shawarma.
Yeah, right.
So
a delicious shawarma.
Can't do that.
That united the Avengers, by the way.
It did. Yeah. They discovered shawarma.
Yeah, great line from Deadpool Wolverine. Have you seen that yet?
No. See, I've seen like spoilers.
Oh no, there's so many spoilers now. IGN is ruthless if you follow them.
I feel like, well, even if you don't, they just fucking pop up everywhere.
Yeah.
Hey, this is what happens at the end of that movie you want to go see. All right, see you later.
You're like, it's not even out yet.
This ending was terrible. Here's what it was.
Yeah.
Here's exactly what happened.
Dude, I think I sent it to you. That the guy. Do you know the guy that do you follow IGN?
No, but I do see their stuff all the time.
Okay.
No matter what.
There's this guy who used to do like he's now moved up in the company, but he used to be like one of their main like social media guys, and the community used to call him Captain Cringe because he was like he'd post stuff, and I thought it was charming enough, but
it's pretty cringy.
It was but like it made sense for its context. Like he's making posts about gaming and stuff, and I thought it was great, and people were saying it as an insult, but then he started owning it and being like, hey, what's up, Captain Cringe here? And I was like, fuck, yes, dude.
Dude, the posts weren't bad. It was just like sometimes he would do interviews like, and he would ask questions or say shit to like an actor or something. And I'm just like, dude, if I was the guy receiving the question, I'd be so uncomfortable. Like, dude, like I don't want to be mean, but like you're fucking weird.
Yeah.
Like,
but I like followed him.
You need
like
to run for
he's
office
like
of your local town government so you can learn how to speak a little bit.
He's got a Michael Quicket. But
let's not start that.
You really need a Quickster on your hand.
Oh my God.
Quicket or ticket?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Quit we?
I have to. Anyway, yeah. I don't know. We started following each other, and like I was like, what the fuck? This guy followed me? It's like, Captain Cringe, let's go.
By the way,
he liked one of my recent posts. I was like, let's go, dude. And
yeah, so that's actually kind of funny.
Isn't it funny?
By the way, this is 100% the Quickster. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, it was actually pretty close at the time.
It is.
Okay.
It's called the Quickster. It's SpongeBob.
I wonder if that's where we got it from.
Maybe.
Anyways, my long-term acting goal now is just to get to the point where I can be interviewed by that guy.
It should be.
Cringe.
You should try to be a voice actor on like Cars 37 by the time that comes out.
Oh, that would be amazing. So what is I think we've been going for a little over an hour now, but
let it rip.
What's
do 3 more?
Yeah, let's what's like the
I do want to circle back to Cars, by the way.
Oh, like
Cars is fantastic.
Great movie.
Life is a highway. Listen, Cars, I think I told you this at the wedding. Cars is a commentary on the socioeconomic devastation of the highway interstate system.
I guess that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, that town just went to shit,
because of the highway that went through it. Yeah.
It's really fucked up.
Actually, I think I might have sent you the article, but I think it was Japan recently invented like no, yes. No, but it was I'm going to pull it up because I think I sent it to you, Adam. They made some
sort of like maglev.
Yeah, so
deal.
Japan has unveiled a groundbreaking. Oh, there's this whole reading thing, guys. Can I read or can I not?
Use your finger.
Groundbreaking innovation in the automotive industry, magnetic levitation technology that promises to eliminate the need for engines and batteries. Technology requires power only at the startup to generate the magnetic field, which allows cars to move without any further energy input. Uses diamagnetic materials and powerful magnets to achieve levitation akin to maglev trains, but with significantly lower ongoing energy requirements. Definitely a lot of challenge.
A special road or anything?
I feel like it's going to, right? I feel like it's going to
here's the catch. We need to redo every road on the planet.
Yeah, it says, while challenges remain, such as reducing kinetic energy at surface level and managing vortex damping, This innovation heralds a new era in transportation.
We created a vortex. I started my car and there's a hurricane in the parking lot. It's like that movie.
It's a minor
Twister.
challenge. But that seems interesting too, because like, like if everything really does go electric, like one of the biggest issues with electric cars, I didn't even realize it until later on, like thinking about it from a structural engineering point of view, because I definitely like all electric stuff. I think we should go more solar route too. Like it really doesn't require that much land mass to generate enough solar to power a lot of the country. But Elon showed that years ago. That was my huge introduction to Elon years and years ago. He was
for solar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was like, you want to know how much space it would take to power the entire United States on solar? And he like showed like a little red dot on a map
like
of just
Nevada
somewhere in the desert. And I was like, let's do it?
Yeah, dude,
how have we not done this
What are we doing? There's just like lizards out there?
Yeah, like
who gives a shit?
Put them right in the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, like, but you know what would look great here? A Walmart parking lot. No, but
they're heavy, dude. They'll fuck up roads.
So I was gonna say about
solar
electric
panels or Walmarts.
Actually, electric cars.
Yeah. No, but that's the thing is electric cars are so heavy that if every single car was electric, a lot of the bridges have not been rated to carry electric vehicles. So it's like that old safety factor that we used to build this bridge would no longer be like relevant, because if you have 100 electric cars that are like 3 to 4 times the weight of a normal car, then all of a sudden that bridge ends up being like, I'm actually not sure if it can sustain the loading of a huge traffic jam on it.
And like the wear and tear on the roads probably goes way up.
Yeah, but the thing is air quality goes way up.
It's true.
Yeah, I was in LA recently and damn, I hadn't been there since like 2017. And last time I was there, the smog wasn't that bad. But when I landed, I got out, I could barely see like across the city. It was
wow.
Disgusting. Yeah.
That's kind of surprising, only because you'd think so many people would be driving electric cars.
There's a higher concentration of electric cars out there than I've seen anywhere else in the United States. There's a ton, but even with that, like all the industrial stuff, they do a lot of oil refining out there as well. Yeah. But the first day I was out there, it was, I went out to Malibu and Point Doom, which is gorgeous. Recommended to anyone. But the air was very heavy that day and there's a lot of fog. So it just kept a lot of that smog localized right over where I'm trying to hike. And I'm like,
oh my
beautiful
God.
out here.
It's crazy. It like cleared up midday. Like nothing happened.
Dude, oh my God.
I mean, they also like even if everybody switched to electric cars, like our infrastructure literally can't handle that much on the grid at once. Yeah. If everybody went to sleep and was like, all right, charging my car overnight, like the whole grid in the country would just fucking explode. Like,
I think we need more smaller, like the latest generation. I think it's like SM4 or something. I don't know. I'm not a nuclear engineer, but smaller nuclear reactors.
100%.
Yeah, go the fallout route.
There should be
everything's based in nuclear and or tubes.
Dude, I mean, they had literally like nuclear cars in that, but like not to that level, but like 100% we should. It's just like a whole like PR nightmare because people are like, I don't know why, dude. Probably because there's so much money in gas.
Literally though, Chernobyl is like, I feel like it would make
scared in the 80s.
Dude, it would make so much sense to have nuclear energy, but the problem is that there's such a fear around nuclear fallout from those things collapsing that it really deters the general public from going nuclear, even though it's technically the best.
It's actually like safe too. It's
cleaner.
like
it is. It's safe. It's really cleaner.
People are like, oh, what about the waste? I'm like, dude, what do you think every submarine on the planet uses? Like, they're all nuclear powered. Like,
the new small reactors too, they've designed them in a way, it's standard from Department of Energy, all the new construction companies for nuclear as well. They're small enough where they can be passively cooled if something happens. There's dramatically less risk of meltdown too.
Dude, I just think there's too much money in lobbying and like oil and gas, like and like, you know, the electric companies now, because like you would get so much more energy out of it. The cost per watt would technically like plummet. It should, but like I feel like it's literally just like a money thing at the end of the day.
I guess, and maybe it's because solar panels, like the actual resources it takes to build them is like not exactly easy. You know, you still need a lot of cobalt and all these various things to build a solar panel.
They're not super efficient. And then,
and that's the thing.
20%, I think.
Yeah, like on average, it's like pretty
So
low.
it's like a lot of cost up front in order to do it. And then it's like, but it's just like the sun's always there.
It's so easy. It's so easy to actually throw them up. And you can get them so cheap from China. Not to say like buy them from China, but like You can get them so cheap in
We should
China.
base our whole national infrastructure
honestly,
on Chinese equipment.
Why don't we just buy everything from China? No, but I mean, if one day, like, you know, there's just too many rich people that just like want to keep being rich that like I don't know that nuclear will ever happen.
Couldn't you like?
Where's the nuclear billionaires? Like,
Like,
let's go billionaire to billionaire. Let's see that clash.
But it's like if you only get like if you only need like a very small subset of reactors and the whole country's good, then it's like, how are you going to like subscription model your nuclear reactors? You know what I mean? Like at least with gas, it's like, well, we got barrels on barrels constantly being sold.
Well, going back to the bridge thing they mentioned too,
anyways.
Over the last, I think it's 40 years, since like the 80s, they built a lot of these major bridges in the 60s and like 20s to 60s, pretty much. There's some after that, but a lot of them were built in that time frame. So they've also extended and chipped down at the safety ratings for a lot of these bridges to say, we don't need a 30-year replacement cycle. It still looks mostly good. Or we can just change the paint that's on the side of these bridges. Or a lot of stuff like that where the life cycle of these bridges are extended. Or the other thing that actually wiped out a lot of bridges in Connecticut last year with all the rain is that they didn't change the bridge rating that time because it was pretty much the max you want to do. But then they changed the rating of the substrate below the bridge. So they're like, all that dirt and foundation can just get blown out and it's fine. The bridge is fine. But then you get a flood and
it's not fine.
That bridge is done.
Yeah.
Dude, what?
Yeah, it's pretty.
I'm never going to drive over a bridge again.
Yeah, well, like there's.
I don't trust
they had that problem in like the 1400s.
Dude, this is why, like, you know, I got trust issues, dude. Because
that's why you live on the coast.
People don't do their job.
Yeah,
exactly. Most people just like don't really do their jobs. You know what I mean?
Dude, crazy. I'm so glad you brought that up. I think about that all the time. The country, the world relies on people doing their job to the fullest extent.
We take a lot of it for granted because we assume that everyone's doing everything. Like everyone is like really cares about their thing.
Dude, it's like there's 10 people and like one just happens to actually give a shit and then ends up doing like everything. And then the other 9 are like, I don't give a shit about this.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Isn't there a whole bridge problem in Providence right now or something too?
I don't know. I don't take the bridge over to Rhode Island.
Yeah. I mean, I know I'll look it up, but I'm pretty sure
there was something that had happened and I don't remember why. It was on 95. And it was like a shit show traffic-wise for a while. I don't know if they fixed it or not, but
95 isn't all that great to begin with.
No, it sucks. It's terrible. And there's like 0 rest stops in the whole. You can drive through the whole state of Rhode Island on 95, and there's maybe like 1 gas station.
So when I moved down here like a month ago, I was like, hell yeah, traffic. Or Google Maps, I pulled it up at like 10 p.m. I'm like, sweet, the drive to Boston is nothing. Dude. Well, there was no traffic. So it was like hour and 10 minutes to Boston. I'm like, that's great. I woke up the next morning, started driving to Boston. It was like 2 hours, 10 minutes. I'm like,
yeah.
What the fuck happened?
Yeah, 2 lanes the whole way, no shoulder.
Oh, God. Yeah, by the way, it was the Washington Bridge in Rhode Island in Providence. It needs to be either demolished or replaced. Oh, wow. So it's a really big issue because it's a very high traffic bridge.
Yeah.
And so they're just like, what do we do? And, you know.
I mean, there's also like a huge, I don't know if this is also ends up being a money thing, unless you could just like lobby enough people to be like, do this, but like having like high speed trains that stretch across the country.
Yeah, dude, we need it.
I thank Elon for that too.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is like, he's solving like a bunch of like public, because like I want there to be a train system in Lebanon, because I was like, dude, the traffic is insane. There's way too many cars. There's 2 million cars for like 6 million people.
That's crazy.
And like, it's just too many fucking cars, and there's always traffic. And if you just had like a train system that ran like up and down the country, first of all, you get there way faster. Until you cut the number of cars down, air quality goes up because you're using trains. If you make them electric.
No, we definitely need it. We definitely need it.
You know what's crazy about US-based trains like Amtrak, the only long-haul ones? Cargo trains get priority over any passenger train in most of the country.
Really?
So if there's a cargo train coming and there's an Amtrak going the other way, Amtrak's going to pull over, wait for 3 hours, and then get back on the track.
Whoa.
Oh my God.
Yeah, wow. I took a train from Chicago to Dallas, one of the like sleeper trains one time.
That's like cross country.
Yeah, I'd never done it before, so I was like,
How long is that train ride?
34 hours or 32, something like that. But then at first, I was trying to kill a weekend because I had to be in Chicago on Friday, Dallas on Monday.
34 hours, dude? Yeah. That's like a 5-hour train ride in Europe.
Damn. Well, like, so at first I'm...
If you just think about like, there's just trains are better over there, you know?
At first I thought I was saving a ton of time. I'm like, this is great. Suckers on the road. I'm going to sleep. I'll get there on time. I look up the drive when I get to Dallas and it's like 16 hours. Most of that was waiting.
Oh,
that's crazy.
God.
Well, that's why, like, I don't know what the Hyperloop thing is underground, which is kind of terrifying, but also like, I guess if you're like, I'd fall asleep the whole time just because of anxiety, but like, you know.
I feel like in being underground's great though, in a lot of ways, right?
I mean, like,
I get relying on people doing their jobs, right? But
yeah, people doing their jobs. How do you service that if it's underground? I'm sure they build service tunnels maybe that run the length, but also like, what if an earthquake happens and then one half randomly is just like, and you're like, oh shit, we're still going. And then, like, you know what I mean?
Didn't Elon have a whole thing about how he wanted to dig a bunch of tunnels too?
Oh yeah, it's turned into a clusterfuck.
They did that in New York.
It's this is old technology.
different tunnels.
He's been doing these for years.
His thing where he can do it so fast is that it's a quarter of the size. So his theory is that you can drill it faster because you can just standardize leaving like tiles behind on the other side. And that was supposed to be like a predecessor to Hyperloop, but the tunnel building is an issue because there's no service like tunnels, so you can't really get out once you're in it. 2 is it's only one lane, one way, so if that tunnel breaks, oops.
That's the thing is like you kind of have to have like a parallel service tunnel because like that's I'd
or at least like areas of refuge or
terrified
something.
if I was sitting in a tube and it was like, hey, we're gonna have to stop your tube here. We don't know how long you're gonna be down here, but like try not to freak out.
Yeah.
We're gonna tube over some food for you. Just
tube over some food for you.
Well, and the original like impetus behind Hyperloop was in like 2010 or 9 or something like that.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard about this for a while.
California was going to build a high-speed rail system, but Elon came in and was like, no, we'll do a Hyperloop. And his thought...
That sounds crazy.
His thought process was if you create a vacuum in the tunnel, there's no air resistance, plus maglev, you can go really fast, which in theory is true.
Yes.
But they haven't, and this was a few years ago, so it's worth validating, but they couldn't, or they were struggling to do 100% pressurized, or create a vacuum in even like a quarter-mile stretch of a tube. So then he was like, well, I'll put a big fan on the front to make it low pressure in front of the train. And it's been 10 years, 15 years. California still doesn't have high-speed rail.
Dude, I mean, like, even like
Jeez.
the idea to like pull vacuum on a tube that long, first of all, like
hundreds of miles long
would take like so long to draw a vacuum on something like that. And then you got to do it every single time. So like that doesn't even make sense. Like
that says that you can only do one at a time. What are you going to do? Have separate sections, maybe? But
yeah. I mean, it's like, it doesn't really make sense from that perspective unless you like, I don't even know, segmented it and then every section was treated independently.
Door fails, you rail into it.
I don't know, like, you'd have to like, I don't know. It's an interesting problem to solve, but I feel like there are ways that would be pretty cool that don't require pulling vacuum.
It's called a fucking train,
in
bro.
a jar. Yeah, exactly. Like if you want to just maglev, like people do that, and it's very quick.
Here's some cool info about Hyperloop. So as of December 21st, 2023, Hyperloop 1, a company that was working to commercialize Hyperloop, has shut down operations. Nice. The company cited a number of reasons for closure, including financial challenges, high interest rates, and an inability to secure contracts to build a working system. Hyperloop 1 laid off employees, sold its remaining assets, and closed its offices. I guess the most they did was in 2020, they built a 500-meter test track, which you mentioned, and it carried 2 people at the speed of 100 miles an hour, but no one's ridden it since.
Amtrak goes faster than that.
Yeah, like 100 miles an hour. Like you got to be going like plane speeds to make it worth it. Like if you're not going like 500-600 miles an hour, like what are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely something. I mean, is this something that like Red Hat would ever do or like contract out to or like?
Probably not directly because like we don't do any like structural, we don't build train tracks or anything like that. But a lot of those types of systems, like not so much planes because they mostly run like embedded stuff that like Boeing, unfortunately, or Airbus.
What's crazy too is Boeing used to be like the thing.
Well, so what
the hell happened?
Actually, your dad talked about this on the episode that you guys did with him.
Oh yeah, the Jihad episode.
Yes,
go check it out, Jihad Bora.
Anyways,
that's his name, everybody. All right, you know, you're the one that made the joke. Just Adam made the joke.
Well, I didn't even say anything.
It was your face.
The quick stare. Back to the quick stare.
But where did we go from there? No, he made the comment something to the effect of it's the accountants who are making decisions on a lot of those things and leaving the technology and engineering out of it. And then you end up with things like that. And that's almost like there's a software development life cycle for software. There is very clearly a life cycle of a company where you have a young company, does great engineering, it grows bigger, adults are in the room then with executives and all that kind of stuff. Then it's driven towards profit. They cut around the corners. They sub out for different things, which isn't always inherently bad. But a lot of those things lead to what Boeing is today. And they did a merger with McDonnell Douglas years ago, and they had terrible leadership and a lot of terrible safety practices from what I've read. So when they merged,
like, you don't want to absorb something like that. Yeah. Like that's like the whole company is based around the leadership. It's like poison. You're not going to fucking,
I wonder where they go from here.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of tough. It's tough.
How do you do a PR campaign like that?
Yeah, they are. They've recently gone to space as well. They have not recently come back. It was a 8-day mission that's now 45 days.
Oh no! What?
Yeah, So have you heard about this?
Wait a minute. I think I heard about it on the radio. Now that I'm thinking about it, they sent people. Yeah, it's on the literally on my way to the gym. I have like a 10-minute window of listening. But like Gene Velas.
Oh my God! You hear the Morse this morning?
The Morse, dude.
Breaking news.
On my way to the gym. It's Gene Valicenti on WPRO. Man, he's a funny guy. Yeah, no, but shout his name out. Yeah, cut it. No, but. No, I heard something about how they sent people up, I think, to the ISS, and they just haven't been able to get them back down, right?
Yeah, so
that's terrifying.
Listen to this. SpaceX has done a lot of incredible stuff since they were founded. There's no doubt about that. I think, were founded in like 2003 or something around that time frame. Boeing got the original contracts to send people to space in, I don't know, I think 99 or 2000, something like that. So they've been working on this for quite some time, longer than SpaceX has been around in totality. So it took them longer. I mean, Crew Dragon did this from SpaceX 2 or 3 years ago, 4 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, I remember that.
This is also
the cool spacesuits.
Yeah. But Boeing sent up their capsule. All signs pointed to it being okay. They released publicly that there was some issues with 1 or 2 of the boosters that controls the pitch, roll, and yaw of the aircraft itself. So that slowed down the docking. And then the press releases that they've put out since then have said that they are focusing on trying to diagnose why that 1 booster failed. And that's all they've been saying. And that they're not stuck because there's other ways to get home.
But there's people up there?
Oh, yeah. The ISS always has people up there.
Well, I mean, like on the Boeing thing.
They're docked and they're inside the ISS.
Okay, so they got out. But they do trips regularly to and from the ISS, right? So
what they're running into now is all of the docking ports are closed. They're all filled with spacecraft right now. There's a Crew Dragon that's up there. I'm pretty sure there's a Russian capsule that's up there. And then there's Boeing. So TBD on what they're actually going to do, but they just had to postpone the next SpaceX Crew 9. I don't know which one. But they just postponed it because there's no place for it to dock. And they talked about just jettisoning off the Boeing capsule. That was in the news the other day.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to pay a shitload of money. That's an expensive mistake because they got to get those people back down and because they're just, right now, they're like indefinitely up there. Like, what do you mean? Like, they got to go home.
They have to take like a separate craft home.
Well, so that's the thought is they're either going to figure out these issues with Boeing, which who knows? They've been very ambiguous on what the outcome of that will be. And it's more so on Boeing than, NASA got out of the business of sending people up. They pay for a ticket. And a private company is supposed to be the one that does that successfully.
Right.
That's what SpaceX does. And that's what they used to do with the Soyuz rocket and capsule to get astronauts up there.
But to that point, like Boeing's going to have to pay now a shitload of money to get their people down.
They're already in the hole, $1.6 billion they released the other day.
That's fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah, just on the space program.
Oh my God.
All of their other issues as of late.
Holy. They might randomly just tank. But then what happens? There's so many Boeing planes.
I wonder if a different aviation company of sorts will try to buy pieces of the company. I have no idea. I'm curious what will happen.
Downsize and just do continuation engineering and keep the planes up that they have in the fleets.
Oh. That's crazy.
Yeah, because that's
unheard of. Boeing used to be the company. The company.
But they just won a massive defense contract too.
Really?
Yeah, it was $75 million or something like that just to buy more. Oh no, it was more than that. Might have been 75 billion, but that sounds too big. Somewhere in between those two.
Somewhere between million and billion.
They had a massive contract that they got recently for defense stuff. And
interesting.
Maybe it's a quasi bailout.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, so they're thinking about, they announced this earlier, possibly doing a SpaceX one in the future, but with only 2 instead of 4. So then the other 2 would come down. But there's a lot of specialty equipment for each astronaut, so I don't know.
Yeah,
that's interesting. I mean, I'm sure they have all their biometrics and stuff on like file.
Yeah,
so they could probably
and stuff like that.
They could probably send up like a custom suit or whatever.
Yeah, dude, I can't imagine like being like, all right, see you in a week, and then you're there for over a month. Like that sucks. Being
how many? 48 days?
45 days so far, and counting.
And it's cool, but then like after like a couple of days, I'm sure like, all right, sure would like some gravity right about now. And like, I don't know, like their bones are probably getting all fucked up. And dude, like we don't really know like the full
longest
extent.
Was like 1 year for anyone ever.
Yeah.
Jeez.
We don't really know like the full extent of like what happens when you come back, like the effects of space travel, aside from the, the bone density thing, which is more obvious, but like who the fuck else? You know how much radiation is flying around out there? Like, who knows?
Yeah, I know. It's hard to say, right?
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I saw a post the other day, I don't know how true it is or not, that they may have to wait until 2025.
No.
That's insane.
No, why?
Dude, imagine.
NASA's very risk averse, which is a good thing when it comes to human life.
Correct.
So they don't make decisions unless they are fairly confident that.
I wonder if like they'll have. Like, that's got to be a crazy lawsuit, right? Or did they sign away their like life when they said they were going to go up with the Boeing chip?
So the astronauts, they wouldn't love being in space. They, a lot of them love that from like all the other interviews.
Dude, but like, okay, you're going to go up for a week to like, hey, we'll see you next year. Like, that's like, I would sue the shit out of them when I got back. Cause like also,
can they sue?
how much room is there
I don't think they can.
in the ISS? You know what I mean?
It's the size of a football field.
But like, it's not like just one big rectangle, right? It's like a bunch of small tubes.
Floating office building.
Yeah, I think like square footage wise, maybe, but it's like a bunch of small tubes. Like you're not like living it up.
Down at actually, there's a few different space centers that have it, but there's mock-ups of the ISS. It is bigger than you would expect. I walked through the entire like ISS mock-up one time.
Wow, they have one.
Oh yeah, they have everything that's in space.
That's where you guys are shooting all your content, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
In Hollywood, huh? Is that where it's located?
But you walk through and it's actually like about the size of this room, and honestly shaped like the size of this room too. And they have like squares, probably about the size of those 2 black panels put together, like 4x4 almost, where it's a huge. So it's pretty big. The only thing that's really weird to me, at least, is the sleeping quarters. They're tight.
Oh, and you're also like, what's doing this?
And like to go to the bathroom, like we went in the mock-up bathroom to see what that was like as well. You have to like strap yourself in, and they have like stirrups that you put your feet in.
Oh my God.
It's crazy.
Yeah, because like, how do you even like...
You got to really aggressively poop.
Yeah,
so that it launches.
God, it's solid, dude.
Well, so there's engineering that went behind this. It's a very small like bowl, and there's a vacuum.
Oh shit!
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense, right? Like, how else, if there's no gravity, like, how are you gonna?
I mean, hey, like, yeah, that's pretty. I mean, I guess cool because like otherwise that fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Can't really use a bidet. It's just gonna like. You know what I mean?
A bidet in space.
Space bidet.
Well, with space bidet, we have to wrap this up. I think going a little long here.
Oh yeah,
in a good way. It's been a ton of fun.
Bidet is a good ending topic.
Yeah. So, well, anyway, before we do get off, is there anything else you want to cover, say, advertise, anything like that?
No. Go to space.
Sweet. Go to space. Work at Red Hat. Red Hat's cool.
Not as smart as people think it is. That's probably big.
Oh fuck! I would have loved to go into AI.
Man, it's just a language model.
Yeah. Okay. So like, yeah, I guess. Okay.
He's hooked.
Yeah. So,
all right.
But like, okay. Quickly before we and I mean we could talk about this forever, but Elon's talking about AI God within like the next 5 years. You seem dismissive of that.
Yeah, I think what we've learned and covered throughout this episode is that Elon says a lot of things, and sometimes there's a little bit of truth behind it. Other times, it's a exuberant version of that.
Okay.
AI, and this has been shown like with Google engineers and stuff who like either came out and was like, the world's ending, AI is going to take us over.
Yeah.
It is very unnerving the first time that you have some experiences with AI. Like it does feel like, wow, how does it know that or deduce that or do that? Or why does it do it this way? But really, the different types of AI that are out there, it's just a lot of math and a lot of prediction on what's happening. And they're really not that great. Let me rephrase it. They are really good. It's amazing what we've been able to do with that. But what I mean by it's not that great is people think it's the cure to the whole world's problems. It'll solve everything, do everything, make everything better, cooler, fancier, whatever. But it really comes down to not the answers that AI is giving, but more so what questions are you asking of it and what are you asking it to do? And there's still like a lack of understanding on how a lot of intermediary layers of AI works in general. But I wouldn't worry about AI God. Maybe in like, I don't know, 30 years? I would say 5 though.
I don't know though, dude.
It's definitely not.
I feel like it's moving fast. I feel like there's a sort of level of extrapolation that we don't quite understand. Almost kind of like people prior to the internet coming out.
Yeah.
I think this is our version of internet.
I agree.
It's like, it's very like hard to, I'm actually so far in the weeds with it. I think we are creating a species by accident.
So I don't disagree with that. Honestly, I think it's eventually probably going to reach that point, especially as like interfacing type of technologies between humans and machines improve. But for now, it's more of a physics problem for now. Almost like there's not enough power. There's not enough cores of processors. There's not enough memory to get to the like superhuman type level for like the Elon's version of AI.
Right.
But no, I agree. There was a I forget. It's Yuval something or other. He wrote the Sapiens book, and then he wrote another one called Homo Deus. It's basically that premise. It's a really interesting read.
Yeah, because it just reminds me of like Fallout. Like, have you ever played the game Fallout?
No.
Okay. Essentially, in the game, there's a whole subsect of things called synths, and synths are just essentially very advanced AI integrated into human-like form, almost like a Terminator, but not so robot-y. That they're very advanced AI in a human form, and like the first versions are, kind of like it mentions in Terminator. Terminator is very doomsday-y, whereas like synths, there's low-level synths, but then there's high-level synths where they're so good that you can't really recognize that they're a human or a robot. And I think like once we get to that point, which I actually don't think is that far off, I think like if it really can think and stuff on its own, like, well, who's to say that it's not a new species? I had someone who I said this to, and they're like, "Oh, but it can't feel." I'm like, "Yeah, does the tree outside feel?" Like maybe,
who knows?
Like maybe it does, but like it's hard to like just because you can't attach a feeling to something doesn't necessarily mean that it's not another species of some kind.
Yeah.
I mean, we just like made it easier to interface with. Like we've had AI forever, like even the like T9 text prediction is technically AI, right? Like you could call that AI.
Sure.
It's literally just all it is a predictive tool, right? But like it needs an input. It doesn't operate on its own. You could like maybe spend tons of time trying to train something based on like sensory data. Like maybe you gave it cameras for eyes and you sat there and you train, but it would take so long. And like we're far from like a thing that's actually like can do shit on its own. It would be super limited in its ability. The only thing we did is like speed up the time it takes for somebody to learn information, because you don't need to know how to search Google. Like we had to like learn, like there's a bunch of ways you can search querying. Google with quotations and like special keywords. You can technically type into a Google search bar that give you way better results than just asking it a question, which gives you like 5 sponsored results thanks to my brother-in-law's cousin. He's the reason that feature exists, actually.
Really?
He works at Google. Yeah.
Of course, dude.
He suggested
Adam
that
always
idea.
knows a guy who knows
that was his idea, and then they used it, and now there's like the whole 5 sponsored. It just made it easier for people to find information, which is kind of what the internet did. And
right.
We're gonna start developing faster because people are gonna learn things earlier, and it kind of snowball or trickles down. But again, it's like, does the ability for it to speak like a complete human sentence like make it like its own being? No, I don't think so.
Not yet.
It's like I view it. It's like a calculator. Like you have to punch in something for it to give you an output.
Yeah,
at some point, sure.
As of right now, I'm remembering 8 years ago. I think it was 8 years ago. I actually messaged Cam about this, and I sent Cam. I was like, "Oh, dude, remember 8 years ago? Me and Adam were fighting with you, saying that there's no way that AI was going to ever be able to create music, and now like." I'll play what like this friggin' site where you just like you put in a prompt.
Yeah, and it just generates a song for you.
It just generates a song. Like this was one of them. It was. So this one, it's so good,
dude. So like
predictive,
it's good. Yeah, as an example, like okay, here's a better way of putting it. Like everything.
By the way, the prompt for that was I sold my 30-inch TV, rock, confident, and it outputted essentially a Day to Remember-ish like song.
Dude, so like here's the thing you have to think about is also like anything that an AI will generate or come up with is entirely based on information we have.
Correct.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's nothing new.
Right. So like we don't know at all how the brain works in a variety of ways. We don't know how consciousness works. Like what the hell like is a feeling? How do you even describe that? Like why do you like your brain gets inputs from various things and then it comes up with information, right? Like there was a guy that was like, all right, like okay, a deaf person, like can we train deaf people to hear using like vibrations? And they got like a grid on their back, right?
Punching them.
And like because all your ears are and it beat the shit out of a bunch of deaf people. And no, like all you know your brain's doing when you hear something is it's like taking the input from your ear and it's associating it with something else. So you don't need your ears, you just need an input that your brain can then associate with what you call hearing. So if every time like you coded different sounds, which is exactly what they did as vibration patterns, and you did it enough times, like your brain would associate a specific vibration with on your back with a sound, right? It just needs an input. So to that person, he or she thinks they're hearing something. Oh. But like, again, like the ear is just the sensor that we use. And we have eyes and ears and they give you different inputs that are separate enough that you can say like, I'm seeing something, or but at the end of the day, your brain is just seeing spike trains. So it doesn't matter what it is. You can use whatever you want. Like you have tactile senses. If you don't have ears, you can literally replace them with a tactile sense. Your brain just needs to associate it with a sound.
Are you familiar with vector databases? It's how AI is storing that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
It's super interesting because like if you take a vertical example or vertical angle, for example, it's storing the data in a 3D space. So then it's aggregating where that data is into smaller points based on like the topic, but then it's also measuring the vectors between those data points as well. So one example that I saw recently was that one vertical angle, the distance between Germany and Japan is equidistant from the vertical angle on the other side that is bratwurst and sushi. So that's one example of like how it's correlating data, and the distance between those things is how it's putting those out. Like it's storing that data in clusters and then calling them based on the nearest neighbor of what's near that data point. So you put in I don't know, something about bratwurst and sushi, for example. It's looking at things that are near those data points when it's factoring what response it's going to give. But when I think back to that book, Sapiens, that I was talking about earlier, and this is where I think like the other species example comes in, is that there's intentional effects and then there's the unintentional effects of this.
Yeah.
And one example that was posed in the book, Sapiens, was that we've been domesticated. Humans have been domesticated by wheat, in the sense that domestication is really serving another species and propagating it out. And that's exactly what we've done with wheat over, I don't know, several tens of thousands of years.
Actually.
So that's where I think, even though AI can't exactly think yet, even though it can't really feel or do anything like that yet, it can still create, it can still predict. We are still prompting it and using it and trying to get information and decisions and analysis out of it. Whether it's right or wrong, whether it's good or bad, whether it has the intent that we want it to, humans will base decisions off of it. And that's when I wonder the long-term consequences of, or not even consequences, but unintended effects of using that.
And you do need like human context at looking at the answer. Like you can't just be an idiot, and if you take it at face
that's
value.
where it's like the internet.
But it's like, but in this, I guess like back to my point originally was just like we don't understand consciousness. We don't understand how our brain stores information. It's way more efficient than what we do now. Like we came up with all our, we have like way more computing power than our brain does, but our brain stores way more information and is a lot more powerful in the sense that it just works way better. So like in that sense, like nothing, like everything AI generates at the moment is completely within the realm of things we know exist. Like until we get to the point where we can understand how the brain works better, we can't program an AI to work like a human brain.
Right.
Because we literally don't know. It's only going to be confined to, and it's going to need a massive amount of computing power in order to do it, right? Like you're not going to get something the size of your brain that is nearly as capable in a robot form.
Yeah, at least right
because,
now, right?
Because like physics, like we can't shrink our microchips any smaller really nowadays. And then also like we don't know how our brain stores. We've already kind of reached it actually.
Because I was like, I think I sent a picture of like my 4 terabyte drive that's now like it can fit in the palm of my hand. And I'm like, that's insane. I just remember like
storage will improve, but I think compute is at a hard limit. You'll need more power and more space to be able to do these things.
Because like, dude, you got to think like the way we make chips is lithography, and we're using light waves, and like there's a certain wavelength associated with it. You can't make the thing smaller than the wavelength you're using to actually etch the silicon.
So is the next step to essentially create, and this was something I was learning about back in like early high school, but bio-based storage and computing. So it's like you actually just start essentially making, like actual like tissue-based chips. Like chips that are made from not even human tissue, but
I
just
do
tissues.
see like some interesting research in that area. I think what'll be the next internet type moment after AI down the road will be more towards quantum computing, honestly, because that takes you from a binary system to a system where you can have an infinite, well, it is quantifiable, but a several orders of magnitude higher of compute power. You go from 0 and 1 to using qubits, which you can hold current things in its I don't know, some sort of state. I'm not a physicist. But that alone, even going from 0 to 1 to a third state, that's insane amounts of computation that you can do.
Yeah, no, it's true. And like, which there's their own problems with that. But like with the bio stuff, like they did a couple of things where they stored a ton of information just basically in DNA, and you could like lyse it and read it and just pull all the data. But it's
they stored the entire internet on like a little vial that was just in DNA.
Which it's like there was a whole thing where it's like, I mean, it's, if you think about it, like you got to literally like kill it to get the information out. But I'm sure somebody will come up with something in the future, like even if you just like duplicated it a handful of times, and then every time you killed it, but it's like, hey, you got like 100,000 uses on this because there's 100,000 pieces in this fucking thing. So, but like, yeah, in terms of like AI, it's pretty much just like increasing the speed at which we can learn, which is fantastic. It's going to make a huge difference. Like, just like the internet was like a massive thing. Like, yeah, I think now like your everyday person can use it. And
especially now that it's going to be integrated into your iPhone. So Siri is now going to have the power of ChatGPT, which now essentially massively
Siri sucks. Fucking.
Well, Siri is very like 15 years in a row.
Well, it's like, you know what it is? It's like so Siri was powerful when it first came out because it was the first thing that you could talk to. And that was unimaginable at the time, that you could have a little personal assistant in your phone, even though all it really can do is, hey, call my friend. Because back in the day, you
calling 911.
Yeah. But like, I think now it's just going to get such an upgrade to the point where it will feel like you have your own personal Jarvis with you.
Dude, I just don't want it taking all my information off my phone. I actually don't know if it's going to be a problem for us at work.
Oh, what, to have like ChatGPT on an iPhone?
Yeah, because we're not allowed to use ChatGPT on any of the work computers. And like, I have my email on my phone, like my work email through BlackBerry Work. I'm sure it's not going to allow access, but like, dude, I mean, it's even sketchy the way when you download something and it's like, this app, it wants to track your information. Like, do you want to let it? And it says yes. and ask app not to track. I'm like, what do you mean ask? Like, no. Why isn't it no?
Yes,
it's
please.
shady as fuck.
Please, app, don't track me.
And then it's just like, thanks for asking, but we're actually still going to do it. Yeah, like, what the hell is like? That is very intentional phrasing. Like, that is like the biggest bullshit question on an iPhone. I'm like, why the fuck? Like, no.
Or the other one's location where it's like, always allow, or only allow while using.
It's
As in, it's just the same thing. Just
dude, I do think it's hilarious though. When ChatGPT first came out, within like 3 days, it was like they're banning porn. It was just like the internet. That's the first thing people are rushing towards.
Well, when we were using it and asking it to write ridiculous scripts. That was the fun part. It was ChatGPT but unfiltered before they started being like, we're not going to write that. You know, that was the best.
A large language model from OpenAI.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so stupid.
It's crazy how like Facebook has been one of the ones to release so much, as close to open source AI as it can get, and then like I feel like Zuck 3.0 has been a major improvement.
Yeah, dude, he got the curly hair
and fucking drinking monsters in the back of a fucking
wearing gold chains.
Yeah,
he's tan.
Yeah, he's
he got a sense of style all of a sudden.
Someone was like, "Hey, Zuck, you got to get tan and like do something because the people are falling out of favor."
Up for like 48 hours at a time, and then just putting a t-shirt on and rolling into work,
dude. And all of a sudden, he like got rid of his like bowl cut and like grew his hair out, and
I know
like,
it's
looks
like the Gen Z like fluff.
Yeah.
Fighting MMA.
Yeah. That's the pretty insane thing. I think that gained him a lot of credibility just within the community because it's like, oh shit, he's fighting? Okay, well, maybe he's not as like inhuman as we thought. All right, we really should wrap this up. I'm getting hungry. It's like 8 o'clock, so we've been going at it for a while here. So, dude, it was great having you on.
Thank you. Overdue. I was glad to come on.
Yeah, well, you're really fun to talk to, and the editing that laughing bit is going to be hilarious to watch back. So, man, thanks for coming on.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for listening to Bone Apple Tea. If you like the show, please give us a follow, a like, comment, subscribe, whatever it is. Tell your friends about it. And make sure to follow us on Instagram. That's Bone Apple Tea V, BoneAppleTeav on Instagram. Thanks so much.